All right. Worked all day on my rankings. Did not have the time to get a haircut. We'll have to wait till tomorrow, but most importantly, we're back to rip some best ball drafts tonight. Let's get it, gang. Okay, everybody. As you can tell, my voice a little bit deeper than normal. Think I'm losing my voice, a little bit under the moon, and or going through puberty a second time. Thanks for being here, everybody. Worked all day on my rankings. Took me much longer than usual because training camp has started and trying to weigh what is and what isn't important in Jordan Love just got a contract, but trying to weigh what isn't important in training camp news can be hard, right? Because okay, you have a beat reporter coming out and pushing a player like AJ Dillon. Now, let's think about that. Maybe AJ Dillon, maybe things are clicking for him. Or maybe the GM and the coach said, "Hey, Beat, if you don't say that AJ Dillon had a great day, you're fired." Why? Because they're trying to trade him. They're trying to get something from him. Jordan Love, 4-year, $220 million. Honestly, compared to what Tua got, which was 4-year, 212, seems like a bargain. Jordan Love arguably seems like he's on the precipice of being elite. Tua, in my opinion, is a facilitator. He requires a super team to be good. I don't think Tua is a difference maker. I just think that Mike McDaniel, if he goes to the owner of the team and says, "Hey, Tua's not good enough to win the Super Bowl," he'd say, "You're fired. We'll find someone that can win with him." Because this is the truth, is there's only so many quarterbacks like Mahomes, like Josh Allen, like Lamar, like Joe Burrow, where you just kind of have to settle and hope you win with a bad hand, basically. And Jordan Love is possibly the best quarterback in the NFC. We're going to see what is real and what wasn't for the end of the year for him. But good for him. I drafted a lot of Jordan Love last year. Didn't have a great year to start, but arguably should have won that game against the Niners and maybe even got to the Super Bowl. So good for him. All right. Some training camp news we've received so far. So some things I want to touch on. One is J.K. Dobbins is running with the I gotta figure this out. J.K. Dobbins is running with the ones for the Chargers. So most beat reporters are not allowed to they're not allowed to say, I guess, like who runs with the ones, who runs with the twos. Of course, not all of training camp practice, as some try hard Pop Warner guy tried to tell me today. Not all of them are it's not all just like offense on defense. Some of it is situational, but you have the 2-minute drill, etc., where you can really start to learn who's running with the ones and who's not. And this is Matthew Betts. He had me on his pod. And J.K. Dobbins and Jarrett Patterson. Jarrett Patterson, formerly of the Commanders. Some people didn't know who that is. I did. He went to University of Buffalo. Anyways, they were running with the ones over Kamani Vidal and co. Now, J.K. Dobbins Gus Edwards had off-season surgery. We don't know what that means, you know? They didn't expand on that. It seems minor, and my assumption is that Gus Edwards is still the one. Now, pads are not on, right? So what Matthew says here is still not quite there in terms of muscle bulk. A lot of athletes struggle with this after Achilles repair. So you can clearly see here that this calf seems thicker than this calf, is I think what he's referring to here, and just this whole leg looks kind of smaller. Now, some of that's angle and whatnot, but I see what he's saying there. And again, okay, J.K. Dobbins running with the ones, that could mean one of two things. It could mean J.K. Dobbins is going to be the number one running back for the Chargers. It could also mean the Chargers are curious to see what J.K. Dobbins can do to evaluate. Like maybe they're worried about their running back room and they're like, if this guy is not there, I got to find someone. We got to find another guy to get in the room. Lightly jogging, more like it. Exactly, right? There's no pads on. So anyways, I did raise Dobbins in my ranks somewhat to at least draftable territory. I had him buried. This is kind of how I just approached the injured guys. And I did lower Vidal somewhat, but I think we should be cautious to lower a guy like Vidal too much, because do you think an NFL coach is going to hand the reins to a 6th-round rookie right away? Practice one of training camp? Of course not. That would be insane, right? These are a bunch of grown men playing football. They're not going to just give a 6th-round rookie and just say, you're running with the ones. They're going to have to make them earn it, right? So this is not a death blow to Vidal or anything. And that's why going through training camp news is a little bit of art, a little bit of science. Some years I've not even really focused on it too much for some teams, But I do think we've gotten some news that I wanted to just on. Primarily, like reports we do care about is this guy's running with the ones, this guy's running with the twos, but not so much the first week of training camp, right? Jared Patterson ran with the ones. That's what I said. Yeah, he was on their practice squad, got cut and signed again. So it's like he's probably just familiar with the offense. Anyways, some people said they liked my my thumbnail. Try and take notes from Josh Norris here of Underdog. Earlier today, he said, and he tweets a lot. I mean, a lot. Like, where is this? Right, let's get to my replies. I tweet a lot too. Some days. DraftKings pricing is out for week 1 if you didn't see that. I mentioned to Davis when he was on stream that Ray McLeod was running ahead of Rondale Moore. He didn't want to hear it. Also still happening. Maybe Josh deleted that tweet. It's a pretty innocuous tweet. It was just about thumbnails and keeping it simple. Well, anyways, I wanted to show you guys one of my own old thumbnails, but I couldn't. Clickbait titles definitely work. Yeah, I mean, hey, look, we're almost in August. We got to pull out all the stops to reach 5K subscribers, which we're approaching. We are approaching. I think we're less than 40 or 30 away. So let's keep rolling here. Friday evening streams, let's go. Appreciate you, Scarecrows. Appreciate the super chat. For those who do subscribe to beatbestball.com, I updated my rankings for DraftKings, Drafters, and Underdog. Again, it took me literally all day, where the longest is to get the first set done. And then I can't get the Google Sheet to work where it just, like, automatically updates the rest, so I manually update the rest. That doesn't take as long, but it still takes an hour. Wide receiver 1, Keon Coleman. Yeah, Keon Coleman's showing out in camp. It was bizarre to me, the ranking providers who dropped him in ranks. Some of you saw on Twitter that me and Leone got into it over CEH, who my mentality is when a player has been bad, you you don't draft them unless they get positive news. And I had a big lack of confidence that CEH was the RB2. They have this rugby guy, Lewis Reese Zamit or something like that. They have guys like Tony who could be playing. And so I just wasn't into CEH. He's the type of guy who I personally want to get positive reporting on. Where other people, for whatever reason, I don't really get why, but they were saying you gotta draft CEH in May, June, July. I said I for one have not been drafting CEH, but Pete Sweeney here, a Chiefs beat, says, and this is some news I think is actionable. He said the first running back in after Isaiah Pacheco is Daenerys Prince. And I said, I, for one, have not been drafting CH like many others, touting he's a safe RB2. There's nothing safe about a player who's been passed by an undrafted free agent. Still think it's unclear who the RB2 is for the Chiefs. And again, Prince is an athletic freak, right? Which is something I added. But CH is middling. So I think the Chiefs want Prince to be the RB2, and they're giving him a shot to be it. And Michael Leone mansplains what safe is to me. Safe is relative to other players. Thank you for that. Of course, he's not safe in a vacuum. He goes around 18. Thank you for that. But better likelihood he's RB2 than a ton of backs that go before him. Disagree on that. And I said, I've seen many posts about how he's a great pick early in the news cycle. I simply disagree about that. There's other gambles I'd rather make. A guy like Will Shipley I'd rather bet on at the moment. And he's the type of guy I'll start drafting if he gets positive August reporting. And he goes, that's basically the exact wrong way to do it, which I really don't understand how you can be this confident. And like, are these like ETR bots liking this or something? I just said good luck. And anyways, all the report has been since then is that Daenerys Prince running with the twos, CEH, a donkey pick, suck it. Anyways, we'll see how it plays out. No, to be real though, I think that CEH, the Chiefs know what they have with him. So look, he's a fallback guy. They want a guy like Prince to take the job. Maybe they want a guy like Tony to replicate what Jerick McKinnon could do. Yeah, should I mansplain to him that I won 3 best ball tournaments? Give me a break. Perfect Friday night stream before UFC. Hey, appreciate the $3.69. Lex P. Let's get it, dude. Anyways, we're so back. Hey, victory lapping round 18 fade. It's not just that. It's a groupthink smart pick. So I think people that are drafting smart were repeatedly taking this guy. So by taking anyone else, I'm getting different from who I think are sharp drafters, which is an edge, right? Simply is. Anyways, these drafter streets have been crazy soft. So we're going to do a drafters to start. And I think we're going to jump around. I think we're going to do one on drafters. We're going to do one on DK. And we're going to do one on underdog. If you need to get up and running on drafters, you can use promo code Cheslium1. Definitely some overlay brewing there. They are at about 23% filled. They have historically gotten 80% filled. This is total points, by the way. Don't jump in this if you're a good drafter because these have been super, super soft. And I don't know where I think the Barstool crowd of best ball is bringing in a new era of softness. Jim saying One important thing to note is that positive reporting on a guy like Shipley would start to drive him up to round 16 or so. CH isn't leaving round 18 regardless. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I do disagree a little bit. I think CEH could get to round 17, maybe fringe round 16. Like me, who has 0 CEH, I would take him in round 16. If I had 0, who cares? You know? If I was like, okay, Chiefs RB2, sure. That's not that's not a big opportunity cost though. But I do agree with your sentiment, which is he's not the type of guy who could steam up a lot. We'll do a BBM next. We're gonna start with drafters here. And we'll rip a BBM next. Scarecrow for you, since you're super chatting. Thoughts on Rasheen Ali? I like him. I like Rasheen Ali. You know, I still think it's unsure who the RB2 will be for the Ravens, but Derrick Henry, a lot of miles on the tires. The only thing that's not great is he had a hurt pec. Oh yeah, and if you sign up with my site beatbestball.com, you get a free ticket into the $15 entry. That's all linked in. I also wrote an article on this on the top scoring teams. But basically how it works is so you get a free $15 ticket. So it's basically 15% off of my site. And my promo code's in here. But what will happen is you sign up, and then what I do is I send over the emails in batches. So by next week, I will send the new batch of emails, and then drafters deposits the tickets. Do I still have the flute nearby? I gotta honestly, I've changed around my office. I see it actually. We gotta get some flute in here just for request. It broke, by the way, but oh no, it really broke. Do you like any Keaton Mitchell? I love Keaton Mitchell, the player. I'm just not sure what is going to go on with his injury and when he's going to play. However, most of the guys who've been injured and gotten like tanked in price, guys like Jeff Wilson a couple years ago, the year I won BBM, Zach Moss last year, they almost always turn out to be good picks. So I've been drafting Keaton Mitchell. Justice Hill, good pick. I don't like Justice Hill as much. You know, he just didn't do anything in a year where they lose J.K. Dobbins week 1. He doesn't do anything, you know? This is courtesy of Fantasy Pros. By the way, the draft did fill. But this is his game logs in Fantasy Land. He had a 12.5 point game. He had a 22-point game. And another 12-point game. And now it's just like, no. I think he's worse than Keaton Mitchell. So I'm not on the Justice Hill train. All right, this is my 88th drafters. Drafters is, again, total points. We talked about Jordan Love. Did you get a ring or trophy for winning just out of curriculum? I don't get the just out of curriculum part of that. But yes, actually what happened is that year was the first year draft. Here, let me plug in this lamp because it's too bright. We're gonna get a little lamp in here. These big boy lights. I love lamp. Many are saying. All right. We'll move the lamp back. So I have them ranked this way, but this is truly a mixed spot, and yeah, we'll go Puka Nakua. Oh yeah. So what happened is that year they sent rings to the people who won the playoff contests, and I was like, "Hey guys, could I like get a ring?" So they sent me one. So yes, I do have a ring. Keaton had juice for sure, man. Like Keaton is a best ball dream if he's playing and healthy. I think Rasheen has the lead at the like between the tackles role if something happens to Henry. Thanks, brother. Um, yeah, again, promo code Cheslium1. Recently had to add the one there. If you're trying to get up and running on drafters. Drafters usually overlays. They also have $2 drafts for those of you who like the low stakes options. And my promo code gives you $100 deposit match, but um, the way overlay works for contests like drafters is the prize pool is guaranteed, so you just are competing against less people for the same amount of money. So it's all very close. Let's go. I go Ayuk like too much, so we're gonna go Debo that time. I invited a couple people to stream, but they couldn't make it. Thoughts on the Drake London news? You mean him like throwing up or like the heat exhaustion? I don't know. I get Drake London, but I've not been drafting him as much. I prefer guys like Nico, Debo, Ayuk a little bit. I mix them in, but ultimately, and what is painful is for the playoff weeks, he gets Washington, and Washington still has one of the worst secondaries. So Ireland went awesome. It was a really great time. Can Tyrone Tracy take over the Giants' backfield? He's far more athletic than Singletary, so possible. Singletary's trustworthy though. Puka Megatron Light? I don't see that, but Puka can be Puka, and that's pretty damn good. What are some drafter specific tips? I would just read this article where I break down the top scoring teams. It's free. But in general, it's total points, right? So division correlation, a nice little boost. You get a couple games there. Single week upside still very important. Stacking still important. A little bit of a balanced approach where you can't lose points at any of the positions. You're not trying to beat your pod, you're trying to beat everyone in the contest. So just different ways of thinking there. Let's windmill a Josh Allen in there. He might have been there at pick 41, but you gotta do what you gotta do. We take these guys a lot, so you gotta force some differentiation occasionally. Yeah, I don't click Singletary a lot, to be clear. And I broke down this is like one of the biggest articles I wrote, but this article, paid members only, but um it's kind of about the running backs that could decide fantasy in the later rounds and those to be cautious about. Singletary definitely fit the bill as to be cautious about. Not a bunch of touchdown upside, not explosive, not a great team. People are going crazy over Dawson Knox. Um, Like I put out a tweet earlier today about the um who's a bigger threat to whose fantasy points, likely to Andrews or Knox to Kincaid. It was tied. Knox has a slight lead now. And I think the way that people think who are voting for Knox, the way they think about it is they're saying, well, Knox is going to be on the field to block, which takes Kincaid off the field. And the way that the likely people think is they think, well, likely's been really good when he's played. So he could just draw targets and that takes away from Andrews. And I definitely lean that side. We're gonna take Zay Flowers there for sure. Some people don't like Zay Flowers. I don't really get it. Um, sure, Mark Andrews was hurt, but also he was a rookie when production is back weighted. He didn't have any huge games, but I think he ran bad in that regard. Like almost had a second touchdown in this game. And I just think Lamar can facilitate high weekly ceiling games. And they can talk about Rashad Bateman all they want. That's a major projection, though. Dawson Knox has a high RAS. He does. He has a very similar RAS to George Kittle. And he's had some weird things. His brother died one year. He got hurt last year. He got hurt the year before. The point remains he's kind of just a jump into the flats type guy. For some reason, people just don't want Kincaid to happen. I think it partially has to do with me drafting 50% last year. Some people are just like, no, this guy now is dead. What's funny is even if Knox is the quote unquote tight end, Kincaid is going to play wide receiver snaps sometimes. Um, like the Bills made a comment about Keon Coleman, like the GM did, like, hey, Keon's going to play the X. The Bills don't do that. They don't just lock one guy at each position. They run plays and they're going to have different guys play different positions. So earlier today, they tweeted out a formation which sounded real sexy, and it was like James Cook on the outside, Knox or Kincaid a second wide receiver, and then Knox on one side and Coleman as the big slot. So Coleman's going to play all over the field. And same with Kincaid, same with Curtis Samuel, same with Coleman. Zay just looks plain. Yeah, I agree, man. As someone that watches all the games, I agree on that. Singletary didn't score a lot of touchdowns last year either, man. He had a good year, but he didn't score a bunch of touchdowns. So occasionally you'll get Kincaid to fall here. Didn't get it. I have Conklin ranked ahead of Henry, which is not how the market ranks it. To me, a lot more touchdown upside in the Jets. Like, a lot of people want the Pats to be good, and maybe they will be with Drake May, but it's a projection. Now, Hunter Henry is more likely to be his team's number one. I'll give him that. But if Conklin's the two, he could have that Robert Tonyan touchdown season. All right, whatever. This is not good, but we're doing it. Done at quarterback, obviously. If they're going to give us Lamar at 56 to go with Zay, I don't know. Like, the drafter streets is wild. Quarterbacks fall wildly. Everything's crazy. But we got wide receiver firepower. We got quarterback firepower. We'll figure out tight end. Probably going 3 late there. And we'll hit some mid-range running backs. How much work will Ray Davis get? Just the Lat Murray role or more? It's hard to say. I mean, even if all he got was the Lat Murray role and Ty Johnson role, that is a valuable role. He also, I would assume he's the goal line back. It's not impossible that James Cook's role grows. That could happen too, right? But I like Ray Davis a lot as a pick. You keep on drafting. I'm assuming you mean Brandon Cooks. Man, I'm losing my voice. I need to get a tea here. Cook would have been in consideration at pick 65 for me. What's the craziest value you've gotten in a draft? I don't know, man. What always sticks out though is that like I got a Garrett Wilson Puka team in the DK Millie. Wow, Deontay Johnson picked 64. This man knows what he wants. Let's get a wide receiver here. No, actually, I like Rashad White. Is tea code word for beer? No, it's code word for tea. Yeah. So I would like crazy starts is always what sticks out for you as far as like value. Um, I forget what I was saying. Scarecrow, appreciate the super chat again. Could you help me understand your thought process behind saying 3 late tight ends in this build? Well, it's not guaranteed. You know, like if Kittle or Ferguson or Brock Bowers is there, I'm for sure going to click them. But mainly when I go 2 elite quarterbacks, which is already kind of like breaking the rules of what you should do, I would argue, to be the number one overall winner, it inherently means you're a little bit behind at wide receiver and running back. Now, it just so happens I don't really feel that behind. Like clearly I'm going to try to get some Bills wide receivers and just hope that people are wrong and that the Bills have a great year passing. Um, and I have Rashad White, who's a nice anchor, right? Like he might not quite have the upside, but I think their new OC could do some wonders for their team. And so it mainly has to do that when you're spending 2 bullets at quarterback, it inherently means you're not taking a wide out, you're not taking a running back. And so tight ends score the least. So that's kind of why you can like punt it there. But, you know, if Ferguson, if Bowers is convenient, I'll mix them in. Doing underdog after this one. Did you max when you won Best Ball Mania? Yes, I did. But I won in June, so the rest of the bullets were dead. My winning team was drafted in June. I've lowered Jelani Woods in my rankings. I still think Woods has the highest ceiling there, but yeah, I don't know. Like Kylan Granson got some work, Drew Ogletree, so I want to let that sort out a little bit. Okay, I think that let's just take Curtis Samuel, not overthink it. We would have gotten Keon there some of the time. So, I mean, I like it, right? Like Josh and Lamar, Rashad White, Puka, Debo, Zay Flowers, and Curtis Samuel. We got the 2 quarterbacks with the highest ceiling in football, Josh and Lamar, right? Like Hurts is there, but as far as single week ceiling, I think these 2 qualify. We got 4 wide receivers, 2 of them stacked. We got a kind of boring but good anchor, like a consistent anchor in Rashad White. And we'll go from there. Yeah, that I've been saying this. I think the Josh Allen point guard offense is what we're going to see, and I think that's going to be the best version of the Bills. Like I think that will be better than got to get Stephon Diggs the ball or he's going to be pissed off. I think Mo Alley Cox is a cut candidate, but Kylan Granson, you know, we'll see how it goes. It could just be that they wanna get different guys in there. Alright, so do we do Jordan Addison and hope he doesn't get suspended, or do we take one of the running backs? That's gonna be a question you gotta ask yourself a lot. We're gonna go running back. I just like Zach Moss a lot. Zach Moss, one of the highest projections for rushing yards week 1. I actually don't have that much Josh Allen. I mean, I have a bit, but, like, in high stakes, which is most of the money, probably got, like, 3 or so teams, but, yeah, I mean, when a guy goes from a second-round pick to a fourth-round pick, and he's still the QB1, I'm gonna be taking that guy. Josh Allen is getting pushed down partially because he plays the Jets week 17, which is probably just a little bit too gal brain. You could take the under on Moss rushing yards, but it's still a huge line that Vegas is laying. I mean, I have a healthy amount of Josh Allen, definitely over the field, but I'm not like hammering him every single spot of the draft because I do like guys like Tank, Diggs, Flowers, Laporta, etc. Yeah, so we'll do a best ball mania next. When you get Allen in the 4th and then Kincaid in the 5th, which I've gotten both in the DK high stakes and underdog, it feels effing fantastic. I finally got one super stack Bills team with just Allen, Kincaid, Samuel, Keon Coleman, Shakir. Just give me the gang, which is fine to do on occasion. People sometimes ask that. Any thoughts on Kamani Vidal? We kind of just talked about that, but I mean, the fantasy market's never done this with a 6th-round rookie. Just been like, yeah, this guy, pick him in the 150s. So high upside, big downside. Wow. Happy I passed on Addison. I am going to take him at 104. I mean, I would have been happy with Brooks either. It couldn't go wrong there, but in general, I'm going to buy the fear dips. And the thing is, with the suspension, like the big thing about taking him in underdog, which is concerning, is if he's suspended weeks 15, 16, 17, that's a disaster. You don't care about that for drafters. It's total points, right? Shakir would have been in consideration there just to super stack the Bills, but no big deal. That's why we slightly reached on Samuel, who I've I've been like the market had Curtis Samuel in the hundreds. I had him ranked around like 86, and we've only gone up. So I'm really happy that I've been over Curtis Samuel with all the positive vibes he's been getting. Yeah, let's get Tyler Lockett. So Pretty awesome to have 2 elite quarterbacks. I have a wide receiver crew of Puka, Debo, Flowers, Curtis Samuel, Addison, and Tyler Lockett. Pretty nice that Puka, Debo, and Lockett are in the same division, so you're gonna get, you know, they each play each other twice, so you get a bunch of mini correlations there. And you're gonna like in drafters, like this will be a sharper drafters than normal, since only one person was in this room when I jumped in, meaning that most of the people in here are watching the stream, if not all of them. But yeah, you've been seeing some crazy things in these streets. If you appreciate this content, please like and subscribe. Helps me out a lot. I am on the road to 5K. Yeah, Curtis Samuel went from like the 170s to still very cheap once he was drafted. What week 17 game do you think could sneaky go off? Meaning not one of the obvious ones? Um, Probably like Pats Chargers on like the sneaky end. Panthers Bucks, I like that one. I've built another Allen Lamar team once on drafters, but I doubt it's this good. Seahawks Bears, I think that's a great one. I would say like the Commanders side of Atlanta Commanders. I think people understand the Atlanta side can go off, but the Commanders side being there too. Yeah, I think this is a pretty good time to buy the Gus Edwards drop. I still think he'll be the starting running back for the Chargers, and at the very least have the goal line role. And that's high upside if so. I had Kendra buried in my ranks previously, so I'm really happy I didn't have any, and I really tanked him after the comments. My Dawson Knox bull case is I think the Bills are 12 personnel in the red zone, more rushing play action boot keepers. Yeah, I mean, look, that no one's debating that Dawson Knox can have some 2 target, 18 yards, 1 touchdown type games. But what does that do for you? Other than annoy the fantasy players that have the other guys, you know? He doesn't have good hands. So I think I'll go Rico this time. Rico Dowdle remains a high upside player where it's really anyone's guess how it's going to sort out between Elliott and him. And at the worst, I think he'll be the RB2. Disaster for the Dallas guys would be a guy like Khalil Herbert getting traded there. Kendre Miller gets cut and goes there. Things like that, you know? In total points format like this, is correlation pretty irrelevant? Definitely not. If by correlation you mean stacking, it's still quite important, right? Like, can you get away with it some weeks? Sure. But you have to think about it. It's how many points you score each week is what makes up your total points, right? And what helps your weekly score? Stacking, right? If Josh Allen goes for 30 and he throws for two touchdowns to Curtis Samuel, that benefits my team more than the Josh Allen teams that don't have Curtis Samuel. So stacking definitely helps you reach high weekly upsides, and hitting high weekly upsides repeatedly is how you win a total points contest. But again, I really recommend you check out the free article I have on beatbestball.com where I broke down the top scoring teams the past 2 years, and just look at them for yourself. Yeah, one of my favorite games definitely is Rams and Cardinals. That's going to be one of the next articles I have, is just kind of like staying my favorite spots in the playoffs. Any love for Jamal Williams? He's defendable. You can draft him, but I'm gonna just not a good enough team for me to really wade through that uncertainty. And Jamal is what he is, right? Like, he requires to repeatedly punch in touchdowns. Kendra is definitely trending to the 160s, 170s, so I wouldn't recommend doing what that guy just did. Let's get Komet here as our first tight end. You know, definitely harmed a bit by all the wide receivers there, but they're gonna be he's still gonna have some games, right? And he had some serviceable games where he's a fine guy to mix in a 3 tight end rotation. Have you researched divisional correlation? Not specifically, but you don't really need to when you do know that game stacks slightly increases your it's a minute thing. It's a tiebreak thing, right? It's not a go out of your way and do it for every single player. But okay, we have Addison and Komet. Nice, right? A lot of things you can just kind of think through logically. That's how I approached best ball my first couple years. And I won $1.3 million doing that. So I would definitely think like logically thinking through things is a very good skill you should try to train, and what I think I'm best at for this. Underdog question. Does it not reference when the draft was done date wise unless you notate it? I name all mine by date, but it will show you. It's not going to show you the date. And someone DM'd me one time asking about. Thank God someone took Rashad Bateman, so I don't have to think about it. Man. So this is the point, is like, do we take TJ Hawkinson? I really don't think he's like, I want 4 tight ends if I take him. I'm not going to do it. Fuck it. I missed it. It was meant to be. It was meant to be. Someone in the chat said, take TJ Hawkinson and you're done. And then I misclicked trying to draft Michael Wilson. What I was going to say is I've not drafted him a lot. So for such a good team, I didn't want to take him. But hey, it's meant to be. TJ Hawkinson is meant to win this contest. Anyways, answering that guy's question about underdog teams. I name all mine and date them, but you can't know the date if you don't do that. But you do know that the bottom teams were drafted first. So, and that will hold throughout. Like, as you get playoff teams, that's not going to show, but you can work out at least something. This Carrie, this is often like a who suffers injury question versus, but There are some teams that lost a lot of defensive talent, such as the Dolphins. Definitely like Jonnu Smith. Think he makes sense. Week 17 avoid games, Chiefs Steelers. Yeah, I've not gotten as much of that from either side because it kind of feels like the Chiefs could just like run out the game. Do you have a late round guy you seem to be on more than most? Mine is Jalen Tolbert. Um, this typically changes for me throughout the um it changes for me throughout the process. And I think that's a good way to approach it, right? Like, who was my guy in August last year? Kyron Williams. Why? Because I drafted him in literally almost every draft. How was it getting back to your Irish roots? It was really cool, man. We stayed in my family ancestors' home. Maybe I'll show you guys some pictures sometime. I mean, the defensive coach doesn't play. So they lost. Like the main guys I think they lost Christian Wilkins, they lost Xavier Howard, and they lost their guard, Robert Hunt. I don't think the hip drop tackle rule is really gonna like stop how people play. But possible we get some shootouts there. I'm really losing my voice here, so I'm definitely gonna need to get some water after this. Okay. Yeah, I think Antonio Gibson makes for a good pick, especially on PPR. He was in the mix for me last round, so like to get him here. You know, Pat's offense, not the highest ceiling offense in the world, probably, but always been a decent player. I am pretty good at following the news. Appreciate you, Dantya. Yeah, I mean Xavier's not on a team, but he was a big name. You feeling better today? Not really, but when do you think May starts? I would start in week 1, but it really kind of depends how bad their O line is, I guess. So with me having Hawkinson, I might go 4 tight end. You know, yeah, let's get DJ Chark. I like DJ Chark. DJ Chark running with the ones. I've been higher on him and lower on Quentin Johnston. Again, him running with the ones is maybe notable, maybe not. It could be motivation for Quentin Johnston, but also like snaps with your quarterback are valuable, especially when you have a new team. So 32 beat writers actually retweeted me here, but this is from Daniel Popper, Chargers beat for The Athletic. He said the starter on starter reps provided some insight into the rotations on both sides of the ball. For the 2-minute drill and move the ball periods, McConkey, Chark, and Palmer were the receivers working with the first team offense. Dobbins and Patterson were the running backs. Will Disley and Hayden Hurst were the tight ends. Will Disley almost certainly was blocking, so Hayden Hurst receiving tight end. Johnston, Brendan Rice, Johnson, Darius Davis, and Samini Fehoko worked in at receiver with the second team offense. Isaiah Spiller, Vidal, and Elijah Dotson rotated at running back. Stone Smart and Donald Parham were at tight end. And I said my takeaways were Chark with the ones over Johnston. Thought I've been high on Chark and low on Johnston. I literally had to stop myself from taking Chark because I'm like, I can't take this guy in every draft. Hurst receiving tight end as assumed. Gus Edwards not practicing, but Dobbins and Jarrett Patterson running with the ones. Vidal with the twos at the moment. And yeah, I mean, I'm personally way higher on Herbert and their passing offense than the market. It remains to be seen how run heavy they'll be. You're telling me the coaches are gushing about QJ and he's playing with the second team? Yes, Joshua. And that is a very common occurrence, right? Like, if you read a thing like Chase Claypool catches a touchdown from Mitch Trubisky, some people will just hear the touchdown. Other people will be like, wait a second, he's with the twos. 4 tight end, 1 last year. But yeah, I mean, I'm not guaranteed to go 4 tight end with this team, but I'm feeling good at my running back and wide receiver depth and quarterback depth. So I don't really see a reason not to do it. You know, like Rashad White, Zach Moss, Gus Edwards, Dowdle, Gibson. Okay, definitely want some more bodies there. But in theory, White and Moss are hitting my lineup a lot. Gus, Dowdle, Gibson mixing in. Puka, Debo, Zay Flowers, Curtis Samuel, Jordan Addison, Lockett, Shark. Defensible group to even stop at 7 wide receivers there. Max 8 for sure. Let's go with Deneric Prince. Running with the twos. Welcome to the squad. Type of guy I want to start drafting as the news progress goes on, where he was not drafted at all earlier. Jatavian Sanders Love, so athletic. I don't think he had a fantastic res. He had like an okay res. He had a really bad res here, but an okay one here. So I'm kind of confused which one is the accurate one. Raz is raw athletic score. Appreciate you, Godzilla. Yeah, I mean, maybe they're trying to trade QJ. Will Disley is not going to catch the ball. I'll take Juwan, even though I have him ranked below, because I think I can find wide receiver better than tight end later. Juwan is hurt, but he's the type of guy where I'm going to ignore that. Like I think he'll be fine. Converted wide receiver was the guy you needed him week 17 last year. You're not a Farrell Brown guy? Correct. Juwan was out there catching balls. What do you think about Miles Sanders? He's defensible to draft in the late rounds. You're primarily hoping he gets traded or cut, but I don't know. It was not great last year, man. And I disagree about Brooks being the worst pick. I think Brooks is a pretty good pick. I draft him. Brother, Will Disley couldn't catch a cold. First of all, being athletic is a requirement to be a good tight end. This is woeful. Terrible stuff. Secondly, Will Disley never has more than 350 receiving yards in a year. This man was paid to block, and he will do that. That does not equate to fantasy points. Sorry I'm late. Thoughts on the Paris opening ceremony? Um, my mom texted me that she liked it. I worked all day, so wasn't able to tune in. Definitely prefer Chuba over Sanders. No, I think Hurst will be the receiving tight end. Dulcich is still free. He's a good pick. Sanat's a good pick. I don't do any IDP drafts. Sorry. No money really in those. All right, let's go with Andre Isovius. I recently moved him way up my ranks because he's running with the threes along with Burton. So, like, maybe. And he got work at the slot, which he's an athletic freak. And so, if he's playing slot, chasing Higgins outside, that is sick. Burton, still a guy I'm into. Maybe it'll be a Soviets to start the year, then Burton. Maybe they'll just rotate. I don't know. Yoshi Boss. Yeah. I heard the coach say that, but people still like Will Disley because the fantasy footballers gave him a fun nickname. Makes sense. I mean, brother, do you think you have like a right to my chat box or something? Definitely think McMillan is a good pick in there. Kate is fine. I like Conklin. What do you think of Love's contract? I think it could be a steal. I mean, barely got more money than Tua. He actually might be a difference maker, you know? Okay, so the real question for this team is do I go fourth tight end or do I go seventh wide receiver? It's kind of like can Komet and maybe Juwan carry me the first couple weeks? And it's pretty dire on both ends. This is a mixed spot for me, Rasheen and Keaton. I think we're going to take one of these guys with us having Lamar. Let's go with Keaton. I'm confident Keaton will contribute. It just will be later in the season. Okay. And we just got to hope that these three get it done. Josh Allen and Lamar, Rashad White, Zach Moss, Gus Edwards, Rico Dowdle, Antonio Gibson, Deneric Prince, Keaton Mitchell, Puka Nakua, Devo Samuel, Zay Flowers, Curtis Samuel, Jordan Addison, Tyler Lockett, DJ Chark, Andre Yoshivas, Cole Komet, TJ Hawkinson, and Juwan Johnson, who we really kind of need to play week one. I like the team a lot. You know, we got some tight end points as a question. Feel pretty good at wideout. Feel great at quarterback. And then need Gus, Rico, and crew to really contribute at running back. Okay. We're going to do underdog next. I'm going to refill my water. Let's hit him with the be right back. And I will be right back. All right. Sorry about that. We got a hater in here. Go away, dude. You trying to get your Twitch mentioned or something? Is this your marketing? Hating in my chat? Be gone. Be gone, troll. Would you say Anthony Richardson and JT is a bad stack since they take away from each other rushing wise? Definitely not a stack I'm trying to do a bunch. But I think it's like defensible, right? Where they can ping pong off of each other. Oh yeah, and to answer the clickbait title, it's by playing best ball, so it's not pure clickbait. Run a bulldog. The bulldog was single entry, and I did that yesterday. Yeah, I did that on the stream yesterday. I did a bunch of streams yesterday. If you want to check it out, I think the big dog will fill. The big dog will not fill ever. Anyways, we're in here. 5 more. Got him. Pulled the 104. Good luck me. Resize that for you guys. I wish. I'm not a meme coin guy. I'd be insane though. Just put it all in Doge or something. Justice Hill greater than injured Keaton. I think Keaton will play over Justice Hill once he's healthy. And it's just kind of a question of when that is. Keaton was really good last year. Yeah, let's pull up the Ravens game logs. This is courtesy of Fantasy Life, which we'll get to in a second here. We will be going Chase. Jamar Chase has fallen to some with him not practicing, but that's just contract related. It's kind of wild that the Cowboys are doing this with all their contracts as well. But anyways, before he got hurt, which I believe was week 15, he had 50% of the rushing snaps, 27%, 30%, 15%. He was running decent amount of routes. More importantly was what he was actually doing with those, which was scoring long touchdowns. Justice Hill, he was on the field somewhat, but really did not get many rushing attempts at all. He kind of just would run, like let's see. Keaton sample is really like week 11, week 12, week 14. Like he was trending up 30, 27, 50. Let's look at those three 11, 12, 14. Justice Hill was not even a factor in the offense. 4, 15, 0. It was just the Keaton and Gus show. Then he got hurt. So, seems clear who they prefer if healthy. Receiver on Netflix got me taking Amon-Ra over Chase. I considered it just because I have a lot of Chase. Like, it's not crazy, but yeah, I don't think that a Netflix show should be wildly moving our rankings. I do not watch baseball at all. You drafting Hawk at all? I auto drafted him by mistake, so I don't draft him a lot, but he's better in something like this than drafters. Are you in on 3-4 turn Mahomes? Yeah, I said this on stream yesterday. This is something that, like, I've done this year over year. This is not like a 1-year thing. I'm always okay moving an elite quarterback to correlate with his weapon. So definitely something I would do on occasion. Um, but I'm not forcing that often. What tourneys do you think overlay? I think drafters overlays. I think the marathon overlays, that is only like 15% filled on Underdog. I think like weekly winners probably overlays. Let's get Ayuk. We have so much Chase and Ayuk combined, but F it, it's the nuts. Let's look at here. The sprint seems like it will overlay. The marathon seems like it will overlay. Appreciate you, Scarecrow. This was for you. I was gonna do a marathon scare, but you told me BBM, so Eliminator will not overlay. Mastiff probably will not overlay. The big dog will not overlay. Oh shit, we're on the clock. Uh yeah, Mike Evans is a third wideout. Gets the Panthers week 17. Seems like a good spot. Pretty sexy start here. Chase Ayuk Evans. Yeah, I think drafters will overlay. The marathon and the sprint. And then some DraftKings stuff may or may not overlay. Like, they're giving away free tickets. They're doing weird things. Okay, weekly winners is not going to overlay. Misspeak by me there. Where is weekly winners? Yeah, definitely not overlaying. Hayden Winks really pushes this contest. I think it was his idea. It's not, all I am is honest on this channel. It's just not the most fun thing to me. It's like it's sick if you win the 20K, but I don't know. I guess you could, in theory, win multiple weeks. It's a fun new puzzle. I'm sure it's soft. You doing any eliminators? I don't know. Every 20 best ball gets a free one on DK right now, right? No, I do not think so at all. They're doing different types of. DraftKings earlier today had some like weird flash thing where they're definitely just trying to gauge how it worked, where it was like, if you did a draft between the hours of 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern time, they gave you a $5 DFS ticket for week 1. You still take guys like Gabe Davis, Noah Fant as a show of loyalty to the guys that got you here? I mean, Luke, you definitely have to have some brand loyalty, but I've not been drafting either of those guys a ton. Gabe Davis also was not on my winning BBM2 team. I just drafted 60% of him that year. Noah Fant ADP has gotten wild. I had to update him in my ranks because I do bake in ADP somewhat. So, yeah, you got to have some brand loyalty. Unfortunately, though, most of the guys who got me there are good fantasy picks. Gabe Davis was on one of my winning best ball teams, though. He was on the 50K team I won. Do you like Fant or Conklin more? I like Fant more. I mean, Conklin more. Thank you, babe. To the rescue here. She got me a tea. Um, yeah, I mean, I have them ranked similar within 3 spots, but I have Conklin ranked ahead of Fant. I would say that Conklin has a little bit more downside than Fant, where like there really is no one to usurp Fant, but guys like Jeremy Ruckert and the other athletic dude could technically usurp. I don't get why Jalen Hurts, like, why is Jalen Hurts ADP falling repeatedly? He's a steal. We're going to take Jalen Hurts. Leave him as head of the Conklin train? Yeah. I draft a lot of Conklin every year, and like every year he's a good pick. Yeah, no, your first best ball team, you will get a free one back. Yes. But you got to just kind of like read the promo. I think more promos are coming for DraftKings. No, but Hertz's ADP is not following the that ADP at all. Let's go Terry. Possibly we'll get Jaden Daniels later. This dude just living life. Naked Mahomes. 2 running backs, Saquon and Derrick Henry. You taking any round 18 Gibson? I was probably the first person to say you could take round 18 Gibson. He got hurt though at practice, but I did lower Malachi Corley in my ranks, who I felt like was an upside player, but remains to be seen where he'll play. But yeah, I don't get like I auto drafted 150 fast puppies and I ended up with a bunch of Hurts, who I value within one spot of Josh Allen. And I think people are just dinging him because he, pretty much just got unlucky and got hurt. Yeah, Underdog has rake back too. Rashad Penny was on that BBM team. He was. Rashad Penny to Monra was key to me winning. No, but like Hurts is falling past the AJ Brown drafter. Like Humble Legend decided he did not want Hurts with AJ Brown. How often do you try to get 2 elite quarterbacks? Not often. Not like in that tier of guys. Definitely not often. Especially not on drafters where you have to build the nuts. Yeah, I mean, and he was staying with Rodgers. Maybe he said something wrong. Hurts is totally fine to have naked, by the way. Meaning unstacked. Ooh, the Mahomes drafter's big mad. Hollywood and Xavier going to the Josh Allen drafter. I'm not off Josh Jacobs. I draft him. I was outed on Josh Jacobs when he was at the 3-4 turn where he was earlier in the year. Thoughts on Kendre Miller news? I dropped him in my rankings. Yeah, I mean, Mike Williams is a steal at that price. I value upside more than most people. Like most people just want look, zeros are bad. I'm not debating that. But league winners are good, you know? Sure. Brian Thomas, come on down. Brian Thomas's DraftKings salary week 1, 4,700. No. Rusty, every single year, I promise you the pup news is not baked in. Every single year without fail, guys fall. Except a guy like Jonathan Brooks. Like, I'm giving the market a little bit of credit there because he's not dropped as much. Are you taking much Kamara this season? Not on underdog, but I do take him when he falls past ADP. He's definitely a fine click. I got him at pick 93 in one Best Ball Mania. So it's like I feel good about that being a Kamara team. Obviously, he's a better pick on PPR. He still could be, he could be Rashad Whiteian. Wow, Jordan Addison goes pick 95 to the Mahomes drafter. We got him at pick 100 on drafters. Sure. I think Jake Ferguson would be fine to correlate with Hurts, but he falls more. Let's get a Ken Walker team. I don't get Ken Walker a lot. Definitely think he should be drafted ahead of guys like Montgomery. He remains a high weekly ceiling player. Can we talk about Ford again? Crane said he might be the worst pick in the tourney. I wonder why he said that. I disagree. I think he is a good pick. I think his ADP should fall a little bit if Chubb is healthy. But just because Chubb can squat does not mean he can take hits from linemen. You know? I think anyone who's saying that is struggling with context because he's an explosive player. Let's go to PPR. He can catch passes. He was really solid last year, and he rolled his ankle 1 week. So, seems like a fish take. And I don't think he goes to 0 if I don't think he goes to 0 even if Chubb comes back. Dude, easy money. Come on now. Yeah, well, this would be the downside of Ford would be that Naheem Hines takes the passing work, Foreman takes the goal line work, which they did not give Ford much goal line work, but Ford is explosive. I really like him as a pick. A 1-5-6 10-yard split is good. 3 cone, not great. 7-3, a 7-3-1. Same 10-yard split as Warren. Better long speed than Warren. Similar 3 cone. And I was the first Warren truther. Karane's brand, I coined to him. I said, this guy is 85% Austin Eckler. I don't think Ford is a guy to like slam every single draft. And what I really like is that the Browns play the Dolphins. And again, I think the Dolphins front seven will not be good. Warren does not look like a 4.83 Raz. Yeah, I agree. His 10-yard and his 3 cone play well. Ford did have a lot of chunk plays, and he got hurt. Yeah, DeAndre Swift seems like a great guy to get here as our RB2. Shout out Draft Sharks. They got some injury history on Ford. He had a sprained ankle in week 7, and that was a high ankle sprain to my knowledge. And let's pull back up his fantasy game logs. So this is kind of a fun spot because we can go with Burrow to go with Chase. Nope, we can't. This dude is clearly a casual drafter, but he's got a red badge, so he's just vibing. He's got Mahomes, he's got Burrow. What I was going to say is we can also go Daniels. We could also go Njoku if we want to get that, a shot at an elite tight end. I think we're going to do Daniels, though. We got Hurts, we got Daniels. We're done at quarterback with 2 mega high upside quarterbacks. Like that a lot. So Ford got hurt week 7 against Indy. Before that, he had a 24-point game, a 19-point game, a 17-point game, and then he had his high ankle sprain, and he played through it, but he wasn't as effective until late in the season when maybe he was healthy. So context is difficult for some people to parse through, and I think that adds some context here. And by the way, Tennessee, they were not a pushover in the run game. So yeah, if you just look at Ford's advanced stats and game logs after he had his high ankle sprain, yeah, if you get 10 to 12 points from Ford on the regular with an occasional spike, that's real solid. Would you have taken Burrow over Daniels there? Honestly, Scarecrow, I'm not sure. Thank you for the super chat again. Probably, but at the same time, I have a lot of Burrow with Chase, and I don't have as much Daniels with Terry McLaurin. So that might have pushed me to take Daniels. But yeah, part of the reason why I have not jumped Kyler Murray up in ADP is because I like guys like Dak and Burrow so much. I view them as elite fantasy quarterbacks, especially Burrow. So I'm probably maybe I would have gone Burrow just because I have Jamar Chase and has to pay off as far as making a right bet there, but pretty happy I got sniped, to be honest. What's your take on Caleb Williams? I think he can throw for around 4,000 yards, around 25 to 30 touchdowns. I draft him. Ford had a sick catch in training camp. But yeah, I'm into a guy like Jerome Ford, but if he gets bad camp news, okay, we adjust. So Goddard would have been a clear guy to take if he was there for us. He's not. So let's get Trey Benson. We got Walker and Swift to carry us through the beginning. If Benson takes some time, that's fine. Love flying up draft boards. If you're drafting on DraftKings, I 100% believe that. DraftKings loves to do stuff like that, where it's just like, this guy got paid money, same player. Boom, up a round or two. Yeah, I mean, Hines and Deonta Foreman could both not make the team. Am I the one who thinks Mike Evans' ADP is too low? Very well could be, man. All right, I feel like we got to do it. We got to take Ford after the question. Usually probably go Chase Brown there, who I also like, correlates well with Chase, but I like Ford as well. They're similar bets. I got quite a bit of bully tight end teams. No, I mean, Mike Evans is defensible at the 1-2 turn. What's your exposure on Jonathan Taylor? Pretty low, and I'm trying to get more. I recently moved him up my ranks. I'm trying to get some more of him. It's a Godwin year. I think some people legitimately believe that they just alternate. No, I thought last year Likely was a bad pick. He said, saw your Twitter poll about Likely Andrews. And I remember last year you said Likely was a bad pick. Seems like you do not feel that way this year. No, I think Likely is a good pick this year. But last year, I thought it was a bad pick because the Ravens brought in all of these other wide receivers, right? They brought in Zay. They brought in Odell. Bateman was healthy. And Andrews, right? And they brought in this coach who likes to run 11, which he did. And so it was a pure handcuff pick. So to me, that's a bad pick when you're taking a handcuff tight end. And that turned out to be true. Likely was a 0 until Mark Andrews got hurt. So you can make bad probability bets and still get rewarded. Likely was a good player. And to me, what's different this year is Mark Andrews had Liz Frank surgery, it seems. Same injury that Tony Pollard had and totally zapped him. So I think it really remains to be seen if Mark Andrews is going to be the same guy. And B, Likely was quite good when he played. So I think that might earn him more playing time. Mitch, you clearly don't know me. What's the most amount of exposure you'll have on one guy? Are you more conservative or do you get your guys? I'm definitely willing to, if I think a player is wildly mispriced, I'll go high. The year I won Best Ball Mania 2, I had 60% Gabe Davis. I had around 50% Dalton Kincaid last year. I don't have quite that level of stand currently in BBM, but, in general, the cheaper a guy is, the more you can go overboard. Saving more DraftKings for later in the year, but yeah, I'll definitely be doing DraftKings as well. Yeah, I think Josh Downs makes for a fun 6th wide receiver. He was good last year. 100%. Could definitely see Taylor getting there against the Giants. I'm not drafting a lot of Bateman, but I guess it's possible. No, I don't do the cash games. Is this guy like actively trying to take the players that fit my team? Would have considered Jahan Dotson there, who I really don't draft a lot of. Yeah, let's get a Darnell Mooney. Let's get a Darnell Mooney here. Feel pretty good with these running backs. Probably gonna. Yeah, I think we're done at wideout. We're done at quarterback. We'll add 2 more running backs and 3 tight ends. How often do I do late night drafts? Usually I'm a morning guy, but definitely mix them in. I do think Marvin Harrison Jr. has a chance. Top 3 is a bit big, but I think Marvin Harrison Jr. can pay off ADP. I take him every time at the 1-2 turn if he's there. And one of the guys above him's not. If you guys appreciate these streams, like the video, subscribe. I'm on the road to 5K, almost there. The link to join my Discord is below. That's totally free. And if you're not up and running on Underdog, you can use promo code Cheslium for a $250 deposit match. Seems unlikely you guys are not up and running there, but, you know, possible. Let's check in on the subscribers. You can also follow me on Twitter at Cheslium. 4.7. Getting in there. Kendre Miller? I think in this range, 160, 170. Might draft him on this team. The Discord link's below. So I would just click on the link in the YouTube chat below. All right. Antonio Gibson makes sense as a 5th running back. We're going dumpster diving for these 3 tight ends, or maybe 4. Not 3. Who do you think will be the best Pats wideout? I got it. Jalen Polk, if healthy, Kendrick Bourne, and then Javon Baker and KJ Osborne competing. But then you got Pop Douglas, who's in the mix too. So it's really, really uncertain. And then again, the whole team could suck again. Do not underestimate that outcome. But I think they will be better than last year. Last year, I was like, do not draft these Pats. Okay. I'm not going to take Chuba on a team like this. Don't really see the need. I think we'll go Noah Fant because someone asked me about him, and he is a brand guy. Noah Fant caught 2 garbage time touchdowns to help me win Best Ball Mania. I would have won anyways, but he was in there. Yeah, right? Like this remains a very likely outcome. I like Drake May. I would play him early. That's the Pats' best chance of being good, but hard to say if that's going to happen. Jacoby Brissett did support Amari Cooper, but that was Amari Cooper. I'm so happy I drafted a ton of Polk early. Yeah, I got a lot of him there too. No Fant is a channel legend. You're right, dude. I need to get a Fant sticker. I need to get a Fant sticker for the YouTube members. Yeah, the Pats O-line seems to be the concern. But here's the thing. You know whose O-line sucked last year? The Texans. The Texans lost like half of their O-line. So after that happened, what's other people's excuse? You know? He did not say this. This cannot be real. That's got to be a joke. Fully loaded is believing in the Pats hype. Drake May pick 180. They go with Josh Allen, so he did say it? What? No, I thought that was for sure a joke. This dude taking shots at George Bush? Can you help me understand your process on when you say not Chuba on a team like this? Absolutely, man. Chuba's production will most likely be weighted to the start of the season, right? The early weeks. I feel this team is covered in the early weeks. Ken Walker is going to be playing early. DeAndre Swift should be the RB1 early. Ford should be contributing early. So I don't really need early production. You know? Chuba, like if my team was like Trey Benson and then a bunch of guys like Trey Benson, that's a team that Chuba plays more with, where you take a guy who, yeah, he might be the guy week 17, but he will be the guy early. Does it mean that Chuba will not have any fantasy points down the stretch? No, of course Chuba could. Brooks could get hurt. Brooks could not play as much as we think, things like that. But in my opinion, Chuba is most likely to be an early season guy. Let's get Likely in there. Starting to see Lamb fall to the 103 more often. Yeah, that makes sense that the casuals would be afraid of the contract. Crazy, but by the way, did you guys see that Tyreek got like blood transfusion or something? Not gonna lie, that got me more interested in Tyreek. You saw the same quote about Jaden Daniels? Yeah, so that probably a fake quote that they're just like, have you guys seen that like Sydney Sweeney's dating all these different people, these random people? Seems like it's that type of thing. You think Tony is who I need on this team? The AI is taking over? Definitely to some people. We're going to get our first share of Deneric Prince in Best Ball Mania. Round 17. Didn't want to risk it. Might have been there round 18. But our sixth and last running back, just hope he is the Chiefs RB2. Could be a 0, like many players. Good to know, Brock. Definitely James. We talked about that earlier. Bumped Isovius or Yoshibas up quite a bit in my ranks. Yeah, definitely Prince over Hilaire. I mean, he's running with the twos. Again, it could be nothing, but I like to short the CEH stocks. We have fun thread on CEH if you want to read it. By the way, this was from Warren Sharp today. This is some weird stuff. Touchdowns on passes 10 plus yards since 21. 54 for Josh Allen. Tied for last with 17. Davis Mills, Mac Jones, and Mahomes. What's going on there? Touchdowns on passes of less than 10 yards. 88 Mahomes. So, I mean, my takeaway is dual fold. One, I don't know if since 21 means it includes 21 because Tyreek was still there in 21, but it's either because the Chiefs are just a move the chains offense, like always move the chains, and so they're always in the 10-yard line. It's also a lot of those like little dump off touchdowns. It also has something to do with their weapons. It's also when Travis Kelce's your top weapon, he's not a deep threat, you know, but insane. True. I mean, tied with Davis Mills and Mac Jones. And it also has to do with how coverages play the Chiefs. S Dog. Guys, if you could announce yourself by just doing whatever letter you associate with and then dog, I really appreciate that when you come to the chat. Appreciate you, S Dog. All right. So this is the part where you just kind of take a tight end and pray. This time we're going to do Greg Dulcich, who correlates with the Bengals. They played the Bengals week 17, and the Bengals were one of the worst teams against tight ends last year. How sticky is that year to year? Hard to say. Also, Greg Dulcich is not guaranteed to be the tight end one. It could be Lucas Kroll. Z Frog in the house. B Dog. All right. And that completes our best ball mania of the evening. Let's name it, review it. Number 95, 726, streamed. Get some family time, man. Getting a haircut tomorrow, I hope. Anyways. Why do people care about my haircut, you know? Anyways, we got Naked Hurts Unstacked with Jaden Daniels, Ken Walker, DeAndre Swift, Trey Benson, Jerome Ford, Antonio Gibson, Deneric Prince, Jamar Chase, Brandon Ayuk, Mike Evans, Terry McLaurin, Brian Thomas, Josh Downs, Darnell Mooney, Noah Fant, Isaiah Likely, Greg Dulcich. Week 17 stacks, we got the Daniels to Terry with Darnell Mooney. We've got Greg Dulcich and Jamar Chase. We've got DeAndre Swift versus Ken Walker. Both of them just go nuke. We've got nothing else. Anyways, guys, appreciate you. Some say the hair is the window to the soul. Man, I like that. I play C4. Gonna play chess tournament tomorrow morning, actually. Appreciate you guys being here. Every like and subscription helps. I'm on the road to 5K. Might be back this weekend, might be back Monday. Gonna try to get no, my girlfriend would kill me if I do one more. Gotta go hang out with the lady. But gonna try to get a bunch of guests on, do a mini marathon stream. What's your rating for chess? Around 2,000. Depends if you're talking online or not, you know, and what website you're talking about. But peace out, guys.